So welcome back everyone to the Trade Squad. This is part 3 of episode 7, and we've got Audrey as well as Anthony. Unfortunately, Leah could not join us today, but we are just about to get into a very big debate because Audrey as a shipper, Tony as a freight forwarder and VOCC, we are talking about cold calling. Yes, that's right, cold calling and how to win customers. So Audrey, I'm going to turn this one over to you because you were the one that wanted to talk about this topic. I think I know why, because I'm pretty sure you get a lot of cold calls. And so let's talk about this.
So I've moved offices and I got a new phone extension. And my first call on my new phone extension was a cold call from a freight forwarder who knew that they could solve all of my shipping and freight problems, whatever they were, because they don't know our business, but they were sure that they could make that happen. No, I joke about it and I do kind of complain about it a lot because, I mean, I'm the person who's getting the calls or the emails, and I think I'm the kind of person too, I like to give feedback, or, I try to help, when people ask me questions or send me requests. And most of the time I'm able to kind of do a quick evaluation and be upfront and say, I'm happy with who I'm with, no interest in changing at the moment. I'll keep your details on file. Sounds good. And I've had over, how long have I been doing this? Long time. I've had, situations where I do end up contacting that person because I'm like, oh, I remember you sent me this. I remember you had, you're seemed really professional, seemed to have what we need, and we'd like to kind of dig into this a little bit more. And then I have some it just doesn't line up, it just doesn't match, and those would be often the ones that I'm like, no, sorry, like, we're not interested, good luck, it doesn't fit. And then it's like, well, why? Are you sure? And it's this kind of follow-up on my choice, and it irritates me. So I think there's I get that we're a global company. It's a big world. There's certainly lots of opportunities. We're moving quite a bit of freight. And I know that, there isn't really a golden way to kind of meet and interact with customers and gain them. So I know that it's a process of the business. But, for me, I think the key thing is if someone has acknowledged your inquiry and given you their feedback, my suggestion is to accept it and
gracefully,
and not. Yeah, I've gotten stuff that's like really borderline. Like, are you? It's like the follow-up. Are you even the decision maker? And I'm like, even if I wasn't, I'm going right to the decision maker, and I'm going to tell them we're not going to use you. Like, don't. Try not to question people's decisions.
Well, and so I don't get cold called by freight forwarders, but I get cold called by, I don't know what, you name it, right? Even though I'm on the do not call list, and I usually don't answer my phone anyways if I don't know the number.
Yeah.
But I love the ones that are like, and I'm like, no, thank you, really not interested. Well, why? You don't even know. And I'm like, I said no, gotta go bye. So I think there's really an art form to
it. Tactic. No.
So Anthony, is cold calling dead? Come on.
No, it can never be dead because it's you always have to prospect.
Yeah.
Audrey, let me apologize to you because whoever called you up and said it's going to solve all your supply chain problems makes us all look bad.
Right?
It's something we deal with every day. There are good salespeople and there are bad salespeople. Mm-hmm. Let me start by, I cold call, but there's a way you go about doing it. There's a way who would ever say, hey, if you're not the decision maker, who is? I mean, that person needs their head examined because they just shot themselves in the foot as far as I'm concerned. Let me tell you a sales call, how it should work, if I may. I think you as a salesperson, you do your due diligence. You find out as much about this company. If you can find who the decision maker is, that's fine. And from that, find out as much about the company as you can. Well, what are their needs? just so you know what their needs are. You know, I like to say that, well, why not? I prospect using LinkedIn. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, you have your profile. It tells that person a little bit about you, your experience. And if you have the right person, you know they are. If you're not, I like to say that somebody I know well, who I work with, knows somebody on LinkedIn, who knows somebody, who knows somebody, who knows somebody, who knows somebody I'm trying to get to.
Yeah.
So you work that network, because I'm not going to blow an opportunity in a cold call, because you're going to blow opportunity with a first cold call where you don't have a chance. So I just want to make sure I'm ready to go in with it. Yeah. And you make the call. If you get by the gatekeeper, if you don't have an email address, and if you're just throwing anything out blindly, you're courteous. I always say, I realize you're busy. I appreciate you taking the time even to take my call. Introduce yourself, what we do. I realize and you just sum things up. A shipper like you have contracts. Do you use NVOs? If there's any type of value-added type services. You know, I don't like keeping somebody on the phone for a long time. I say, well, I'll say, first of all, may I send you my information? And if that person says, you know what, I appreciate your call, but we're not going to bring, we have our contracts and we're not going to bring any additional NVOs on, you thank them and say, I'll periodically stay in touch with it and let it go.
But the one thing, and I think that is such a great approach. And what I want to tell the listeners and the viewers here is how you and I met and how you use LinkedIn and how you should use LinkedIn to get noticed by shippers. And I'm not your target market, but you have been extremely helpful by connecting me with women in supply chain that you think are powerhouse women that should be part of the series. And not only just part of the series, but just connected, like us connected in general. And that is how you ended up on the Trade Squad. You have connected and introduced me. You've really taken the time, shown who you are through your actions, right? And so I want to thank you very much. I'm going to take this time right now to thank you very much for connecting me with all of those amazing women and taking the time to doing those introductions. And the other thing I'm going to say about LinkedIn for salespeople, if salespeople are using LinkedIn, I think you should use LinkedIn for sales. But what I don't think you should do is cold email. I think that you should engage with that person, like their posts, comment on their posts, share their posts, connect them with people, really put your time and effort into the platform and then start a dialogue and a conversation, right?
I agree. Establish some credibility. I mean, if only for yourself with that individual. I like to say that how many people I have on LinkedIn, there's been a conversation, there's been an email exchange, there's been some type of dialogue. So it's just like, hey, you want to connect with me? No, a lot of people do that and I won't connect.
Right.
I shouldn't say that. But I'll write them, no, well, tell me about you. What do you do? What's going on? Where you at? But I guess what I'm saying is I believe in LinkedIn and I believe in people. I know how it works because it's helped me in business.
Yeah. Right.
As far as that glass ceiling, you don't want to get me started.
Well,
no, I won't go there. This is time, place, but no, I think you're doing some fantastic things, Sarah. I believe in what you're doing as a resource, and I just as I said, that's getting off the point of why we're here today. But no thanks, it's necessary.
Well, yeah, no, absolutely. And it's, I don't mean all the time, but just, you'll think of me, you know, and you'll connect me with somebody. And that's the intention that I think that a lot of salespeople lack or don't realize that it's an important muscle to really flex. So I'm going to give another example. So Audrey is very active on Twitter. Very active on Twitter. She is amazing at Twitter. I'm not too great. She is amazing at Twitter. She gets involved in Twitter chats. You know, you talk about supply chain, not only supply chain, you talk about a lot of other things as well, but you're constantly sharing really great posts. So it's not only LinkedIn, it's also about figuring out where your target market is and what they enjoy doing and being a part of that. So anybody, you know, looking to do business with Audrey would be a great place to connect with you on Twitter, right? Comment on your tweets.
Let me see, Audrey.
Retweet. You know what I mean?
And I've had those kinds of interactions too, that, you know, that relationship building. And I mean, I have to stop and think of it from the salesperson's perspective too, because that's not my shoes. And so you try to think of the other person's perspective. And I'm sure they have, you know, it's like you're supposed to get a certain amount of customers, or, you know, you're supposed to bring in a certain amount of business. But I think, you know, when companies think about it a bit differently, and I've had some really good interactions with sales, you know, when you're thinking about, a couple of my favorite forwarders that we work with, it's like they thought about they know what their values are and what their services are and what they can provide, and they truly believe in them and they work to achieve them. And then they recognize what our values are and how, you know, at Orchard, it's, you know, we're all about relationships, we're about long-term relationships. I don't need just tomorrow something moved really quick and then that's it, that's over. You know, we build long-term relationships. So I'm not as likely as a company to just be like, oh yeah, you sound good, you sound cheap, let's go tomorrow. No, it's going to be a progression for us. Maybe for other companies, it's a completely different value process. But I think recognizing that I, as a company, have certain values and goals. You, as a company, have certain values and goals, and they might line up really nicely. They might not, you know. And so I've had a couple of people, you know, as forwarders who it's like, oh, they want all this business. But I've had a couple in the last couple of years who are like, we actually really, you know, think about who we want our customers to be and what we want to work on, because, you know, if it's not a good fit, then we're all just struggling in the relationship, right?
And that's a really great point. But they also need to get to know you as a person. And that's, you know, what I was trying to say with the whole, you know, going on Twitter and engaging with you on Twitter. It's not only that, it's even the Trade Squad, right? Commenting on the videos and, you know, messaging you and saying, listen, love what you're doing on the Trade Squad, you know, really liked what you said in this video, to really show that you're
this problem that you've complained about repeatedly.
But it's so, you know, it's totally true about the companies aligning and the values and things like that. But it's also about getting to know the person, because they're not just a target. You know, they're a person.
It's a shift now that we're all part of a community. We all realize I'm not doing supply chain all by myself, right? I'm interacting with my customers globally. I'm interacting with third-party providers globally, customs globally. You know, we're all impacted by tariffs. We're all going to be impacted by IMO 2020. We're not, as much as we're competing, there really is room for all of us, because most of us are doing slightly different things, or are really good at something and not so great at something else. So if we see it as a community, and you know, like Tony says, like LinkedIn is a great space to feed this community and to participate together and collaborate together. And
you know, well, and I'm gonna throw this over to Anthony just as some final thoughts on this, because I really feel like salespeople they need to be positioning themselves as thought leaders. Show me what you know. Show me what you've done. Show me how you think outside of the box. You know, show me how you're contributing to that community. What would you say to that?
I like to say, you know, think outside the box. I don't believe in the box anymore. I don't, because everything's changed. So you have to understand the need and how it works and how you can make it work if it's something that's not traditionally a traditional service level, that's price effective and gives the customer what they're looking for. Now that sounds crazy, but you're thinking of solutions every day. You know, the transactional service, they're there, but and they're pretty standard. But when I say outside or don't even think in terms of the box, what happens? Well, my DC's full, you know, my deconsolidator can't help me. What can you do? Well, you can terminate in Los Angeles. We can do a cross dock, and we can either take it to distribution centers or deliver it decorated to your customers. I mean, you have to be able to offer those type of value adds. Yeah. Or can we do a pre-distribution at your origin in Asia? That would save you money here and time from doing the sort. I mean, it's just you brainstorm with the shipper or with an importer, and I think that's what we're more. I like to say it's consultative sales.
Yeah.
And you have to. Unfortunately, a lot of salespeople are new to the business and don't have that type of experience, and you just throw them out there, like showing my age, like the full of rush men, just to get numbers, get sales, close something, bring business in. But I think it's consultative sales, and that's where you get the consistent business and grow with the customer.
Yeah, and you know, solving those problems, being able to think on your feet, because it's not just necessarily all about that sale and just bringing in the customer. It's about, you know, if something goes wrong or there is a challenge or a problem, how are you solving that? How are you thinking on your feet, and how are you making sure that I look good in the eyes of my customer?
That's
right?
Important.
You're thinking like further along down the line, because now it's not just about the shipper freight forwarder relationship. Now it's the relationship between the end consumer, the retailer, your customer, and the freight forwarder, because everybody along those lines needs to look good.
Somebody told me once, you take it too personally. You know what? You're right, I do. If we made a commitment to provide a service to a customer and we fail, yeah, I do. Why do we fail? I think if we're going to fail, we should have knew we were going to fail, so we could tell them, so we could have, an alternative strategy for them, you know, so they could adjust. But
no, I think that that's a great attitude to have. I mean, I think is a really good thing. Don't ever think that that's a bad thing, because honestly, I think that, and correct me if I'm wrong, Audrey, but that's the way forward for a freight forwarder. They have to care too much. Because if they don't, our supply chain crumbles and we all look bad.
See, people don't think we do. I'm sorry, we do care. There's people who don't, but there's people who wear it on their shoulder. And yeah, I mean, so there's some good people, great companies.
Right, we're in it together. In the way that our company operates, I can't be the person who's doing the deconsolidation or who really understands how the stuff gets in the container, then on the boat. I don't have the space for that. So I'm working with someone who does, and that's their kind of expertise. And then before that, we're working with manufacturers and partners who understand the innovative products that our customers want. And so, but all the way through that supply chain, our relationships, and we all have our part to play. And the more everyone cares about the end result and really strives to create not just, we've got a great product. It's that we've all along the way worked together and delivered a good product. It's not just we've delivered a good product. It's we've all worked together and succeeded together. And I think that's the shift that's coming for a lot of people. It's less transactional. It's more relationship. And then it's also being aware of, we do, when you do have your wins, sharing them with, not just, your customer's like, oh, this is such a great product. It flew off the shelves. Okay, I know that, but I want my forwarder to know that. I want our manufacturing partner to know that product did so, this is the feedback from our customer, and send it all the way back up the chain as well, so that everybody can celebrate together. But yeah, because it is, you're not one part of this, that, you know, you're not isolated, but we're all together.
And that's why it's called a supply chain. Somebody asked me if we could call it something else, and I was like, no, I don't think so.
That's
I don't know what else we would call it.
I don't know what else to call it. Yeah.
And so I think that is a great way to end this episode. Anthony, thank you so much
Thank you for having me.
for this episode, for part 1 through 3. And Audrey, we will see you again soon as well.
Or on Twitter.
Twitter.
At my home.
I did. I'm seeing an invite.